This is our UV printer. You can see it from the front. It's actually an X-axis printhead movement. Plus a front and rear movement system of the platform. When printing, it's actually very similar to our CO2 machine. After putting the material on, then focus. How to focus? In fact, the height is limited by this direct infrared sensor. When the material rises and blocks the sensor, then it will stop rising. The current height is the correct height. Kind of like the autofocus feature of our Pronto machine. If we want to focus, we need to manually press the rise button. To rise to the specified distance. Now we can see that this distance is correct. When printing, the height between the printhead and this material is fixed. We can move the printhead to try through the left and right movement keys on the panel. The printhead touches the material. And the reason for that is because it's a transparent material. The sensor may be inaccurate when detecting. So we need to block the side. It will be accurate to focus after blocking it. This is our printhead. Which contains two nozzles. You can see the nozzles from below. These two smooth surfaces are the nozzles. There are many small holes on it, which will spray ink downwards. This is a dual-head machine. Above the nozzle is its ink bag. Each nozzle has 6 ink bags. Nozzle 1 hashtag has ink bags of different colors. Black, blue, red, white, yellow, white. If it is a single-headed machine, then it will only have this one nozzle, including these 6 ink sacs. This is a two-headed machine. Also includes this nozzle 2 hash. This nozzle 2 hashtag is for printing varnish. The biggest difference between single head and double head is that the double head has an extra nozzle for printing varnish. All 6 ink sacs are identical. The varnish comes in through the back, and it goes through this shunt, and it's divided into 6 channels. Inject 6 ink sachets. This is its cable. You can see this cable, which has a sequence. Then this cable can be unplugged one by one to replace the corresponding cable. Let's try unplugging it. It is the same when the cable is plugged back in. In addition, the entire adapter plate can also be unplugged. But at the same time, after unplugging, a red light will be flashing here. After we plug it back in, you have to restart it to get rid of the red light. On the nozzle control board, this is its power supply port. And then there's the X limit. Here it is, the raster encoder signal. Then the signal line between the nozzle control board and the main board. And in this position, these two are UV lamps. This position will emit ultraviolet light. Our machine is a UV printer. UV means there are UV lamps here. UV lamps are used to cure the typed ink during the printing process. If it doesn't solidify, the ink will completely melt together. And there will be no various color patterns. There's an adjustment knob on the lamp, which adjusts the power of the UV lamp. The intensity of the UV lamp when it leaves the factory is preset. I just talked about the ink and the varnish. The ink for the machine is in the ink bottle at the back. Moisturizing liquid, varnish, white, black, yellow, red, and blue. There will be an indicator light here. You can see, when there is a lack of ink, it will light up here, and there will be a beep. We can cancel its buzzer by pressing this. But after pressing, it can only be silent for 1 hour. So if you want to completely eliminate the sound, you need to add the corresponding ink. Among these ink bottles, the white ink bottle is unlike any other, because it will have a stirring motor inside. White ink is unlike other inks in that it precipitates. The function of the stirring motor is to prevent white ink precipitation. When white ink precipitation occurs, customers will find that the printed white ink is very light, or the white film is not obvious in color, although there are corresponding traces in the white channel when checking. But the white is not obvious. Then it is possible that the white ink has precipitated. Stirring is required. We can ask customers to manually stir the white ink to solve the problem. The ink is in the back, piped to the ink bag and nozzle. So how does the ink reach the nozzle from the ink bottle? That's what this part does. This part is the ink stack. And we're looking at it from the side, and this is the ink stack.
当
After the
我
machine
们
is
机
reset,
器复位以后，
the
这个
ink
墨
pad of this
站的
ink
电
stack will stick to the nozzle and
会
wrap the nozzle.
贴在刚刚的喷头上面，它
It sticks
贴
to the
在喷头
nozzle.
上面。这
There
个
is a
是一
spring
个
under the
可
ink
伸
pad,
缩的
which can
东
be
西，可以
compressed.
看到。我们
Let's
可
take
以
a look
看
at
一
its
下它
reset
的
process.
复位过程。
I
我
turn it
重
on
新
again
开
to
机
see the reset
看复位
process.
过程。
Start the machine. The ink stick moves up and down in search of the origin. Then the print head moves a short distance to the left, and then moves back to the origin on the right. The platform is starting to move inward to the innermost testing phase. As the ink stack rises, the ink pad normally adheres to the nozzle and is compressed slightly. The platform is starting to move outward to the outermost edge. When they
当
fit
它完
perfectly,
全贴合以后，那么
then the
这
ink stack
个
and the nozzle are
墨站
completely
跟
sealed.
喷头之间，它就是完全密封的。
There are two waste ink pumps under the
在
ink
墨
stack.
站下方，它有一个飞墨泵。
This is waste ink pump
这是
1.
飞墨泵1，这飞墨
Pump
泵
2
2，分别
Connect
控
the
制
two
这
ink
两
stacks
个
separately.
墨站。
When we start
当
clicking on the load
我
ink
们
function on the
开
panel,
始点击面板上的装墨功能。
Load ink. After
点击
clicking the
装
load
墨
ink
功能以
function,
后，那
Then
么飞
the
墨
waste
泵
ink
会
pump
开
will
始
start
工作。
working.
飞墨
Waste
泵
ink
它
pump.
会
It will
将
generate
这个
suction
墨
for this
站
ink stack.
产生吸力。它
Then a
吸力的话
vacuum
会
is
通
created
过
between
将
the ink
喷
stack,
头
the nozzle, and the ink bag.
将喷头，然后这个墨囊之间产生真空，然后
And then you
开始
suck the ink
从
out of the bottle
这个墨
through
瓶
an
里
ink
面
tube
往里吸墨水，一直吸
until
到
it is
墨
sucked
囊
into
里
the
面
ink
去。
cartridge.
直到吸
Eventually,
到
the
最
extra
后
ink
就
will
是
reach the
最
ink
后的
pad.
现象就是
There will be some waste ink in the
墨
ink
站里
stack.
面会有一些废墨出现。
We
我
can
可
try it.
以试一下啊。我测试完以后，大家可以看一下。
Let's
先
first
看
look
一
at
下
the
当
current
前的
state.
状态。当前
Currently,
这里
it
面
is very
是
clean
非常
and
干
ink
净，没
free.
有墨水的。
I hit reset and it fits.
复位以后，让它贴合，
Then
然
click the
后
load ink.
点击 Load Ink。
Because the
将吸
ink
回
bag of the
回。
machine already has ink, it can be shut down as long as it is sucked for a while. I turn off the machine. After shutting down the
关
machine,
闭机器以后呢，我
we
们
can
可以
manually
手
lower the
动的
ink
去降低
cartridge.
墨站。
there is a
这
hand
个
wheel
手
here
的
that can be
手动
lowered
降低
manually.
降低
Fear
以后
lowering.
呢，
I
我可
can
以
manually
手动地
push the
去
nozzle
将
over.
这个喷头推过去。
Then you
然后
can
就
see
会
the
看
ink
到
cartridge.
墨站里面
It's
它已经
already
充
full of
满了
ink.
墨水了，
This shows that there is no problem with the entire ink
这说
path,
明我的墨水已经到达
include
了
ink
墨
stack,
囊
ink
且
bag,
墨囊
pipeline,
没什么
and
问
ink
题。
bottle. You can see
可以
that
看到
all
这里
colors
面
are
各种
available
颜色
here.
都有， 白色、
There are white,
红色、
red,
黄色、
yellow,
黑色、
black, and blue.
蓝色都有。
And then down
而
here,
这下面
it's a
它是一
varnish
个
nozzle.
光流的口，光流
The
口它
varnish is
是
clear.
清澈的，所以它
So
也
it
是
is normal.
正常的。
Just mentioned the ink outlet. But there is also a scraper here. This scraper, when you are doing the cleaning function, it will suck out some ink through this ink stack, and then scrape the ink off through this scraper. The scraper also needs to be cleaned regularly. Let me show you the cleaning function. Click the clean function. Clean. Waste ink pump starts pumping ink. Ink stack reduction. The printer head moves to the left. Then the ink stack rises a little, and the scraper sticks to the bottom of the nozzle. The print head continues to move to the left, allowing the residual ink to be wiped clean by the scraper. Then lower the ink stack. Return the print head to the origin. Then the rise and fall of the ink stack is driven by the motor itself. It has no driver. These three drivers. It's X, Y, and Z drivers. The ink stack motor is directly connected to the main board behind. It drives directly through the main board. We can see which interface it is connected to. This is the interface of the ink stack motor. The ink stack itself has a finite position. This is its limit. The flap above is used to trigger this limit. Sometimes we find that after the customer resets, the ink stack cannot stick to the nozzle. Then it is possible that this limit is too high. If it's too high, when it moves downwards, it moves more often. Then it will move up a fixed distance. Due to its excessive descent, it rises a fixed distance and does not fit the nozzle. So we need to adjust the upper and lower position of this gear to adjust the ink stack when it finally works. It's at the right height. In addition to the ink stack limit, there are two more limits here. You can see, this is the upper limit of the platform.
是平台的上限位。
This is the lower limit of the platform.
平台的下限位。
The upper and lower limits are also controlled by the platform's stopper. The flap is here. This is the limit. We can see that.
可以看到
Let me ascend the platform. The flap is off the limit.
当它回到最上的限位就会停止。
Just to be
有
clear,
一点要说明就是
there are two upper limits of the
平
platform.
台的上限位有两个，其中一
The
个
other
就是我
one
们
is the
刚才
infrared
那个
sensor
对
we
摄
just
式
talked
的
about.
对摄式的测距、测高传感器。
This sensor is slightly below the upper limit of the
其中一个
platform,
纤维。
and together they provide dual protection.
然
and the
后
x-axis limit.
X 轴纤维
As you can see, from this side, above the crossbeam,
横梁的上方
there is a stopper in the middle. This is the limit stopper. What about the limit switch? This position is the X limit.
两纤维。然后 X 轴有一点特点
You can see, it has an extra strip.
多了一个这个条，可以看到这个条，
This is a grading strip.
这是一个光栅条。
It is used to detect the left and right movement distance of the print head.
喷头、打印头的左右移动的距离的。它能
It
实
detects
时
in
检
real
测
time
这个
how
打印
far the
头
print head has moved
左
from
右移
side to
动了多
side.
少距离，用
To
于
precisely
精确
control the
控制
movement of the
打
print
印
head.
头的移动。因为
Because
打印
printers are
机
different from engraving
跟
machines.
雕刻机不太一样，打印机
Printers
需要
require
更高的
higher
精度
precision.
所以它加了一个
So
这
it
个
adds this raster bar.
光栅条来检测打印机的左右移动距离。
The
这个
detected
检测的
value
数
can be
值
seen in
呢，
our
可以
software.
在我们软件里面可以看到它的移动，或者是
If the grading strip is damaged or detached from the grading encoder, the movement distance will be inaccurate. It's the y-axis limit. You can see, here is the front limit,
前纤维
and a rear limit can be seen directly behind it.
后纤维
The rear limit is
后
inside.
纤维
The front and rear limits are triggered by the black gear in the middle.
中间那块黑色挡片来控制的。
I can extend it out for you to see. The current flap can be seen, already in the middle of the limit.
纤维中间了，
This is the front
这是
limit.
前纤维，那后纤维也是一样。
The same goes for the back limit. And this is how the platform moves backwards and forwards.
深入深处。
After talking about the limit, let's take a look at the structure inside the right control box. This is an X-axis motor.
X 轴电机，
This is a Z-axis motor.
这是 Z 轴电机。Z 轴
The Z-axis has 4 rails.
导轨，它的电机是倒装，然后伸到了下方。下方
Below
是
this baseplate is the belt.
这个底板下方是皮带，皮带连
The
在了
belt is connected to the
4
4 Z-axis screw rods.
Z 轴4杆上面。
Then, when it rotates, the 4 screw rods of the Z-axis will rotate together. And then there are 3 pumps on this side. This is a pump for white ink circulation, because the white ink should be prevented from precipitating in the pipeline. So this pump is needed to keep the white ink circulate in the pipeline to prevent precipitation and clogging, to prevent it from settling and blocking. And these 2 are pumps for the ink stack moisturizing liquid. The moisturizing liquid is regularly injected into the ink stack for moisturizing the nozzle when the machine is on standby. It is also a cleaning liquid to clean the residual ink of the nozzle. The waste pump will suck up waste ink and moisturizer, and suck it into the waste bottle at the back.
废料瓶里面。
This is the waste bottle.
废料往上一按。所以就会明显，整个
The whole workflow is like this. Start to fill ink. Waste ink pump starts working.
飞沫泵开始工作。
It creates suction on this side of the ink stack. When the ink stack is aligned with the nozzle, and the ink cartridge are not damaged, then the whole system forms a vacuum. It will suck the ink in the ink bottle at the back all the way to the nozzle.
后面的墨水一直吸到喷头这边。
Then the extra ink is sucked into the waste ink cartridge through the ink stack.
吸到飞沫泵里面去，飞沫盒里面去。
This is the entire ink suction process.
然后
Then during normal printing,
在正常打印的时候，
because the ink cartridge itself is
它
sealed,
也是个真空器。
I can pull it out and show it to you.
看一下，是用
Just pull one.
黑色的
This is a
和
cartridge.
墨囊，可以拔下来。
It can be
还有
unplugged.
个黑色的。它
After it is
插到
plugged
这个
into this
喷头
nozzle,
上面以后呢，那么
An
喷
electric
头
field is generated inside the nozzle.
会产生电场。电场
Under the
通过
action
电
of an
场的
electric field,
场墨水
the
的
ink is
小
ejected from under the nozzle in the form of small
从
particles
喷头下方喷出来
until it
这个
reaches the
材料
material,
形
forming
成了
different colored patterns.
不同颜色的图案。
This
这
is
是
its
它的
entire
整个
workflow.
流程喷出
The
来
ink
的
that is sprayed
墨
out,
水经过自然
after
的
curing the
雾化以
ultraviolet
后呢
lamp,
它
it
就
can be
可以
attached to the
就是
material
固定在这个材料上面，变成
and become
清
clear
晰的
patterns.
图案了。
Similar to this. On the left side of the device is relatively simple. On the left side is its serial number. The serial number is used to query the factory parameters. The factory parameters of different machines are different. So when you need the factory parameters, you need to provide the serial number. Ask the factory for the parameters, and send the parameters to the customer. Then this position is its filter device. There is 2 filters inside. The filter element is replaceable. But the replacement cycle is actually different from person to person. There is no fixed cycle. What about the filtering function? Is also realized through the panel. There's an air purity in that control. This switch power supply powers the entire device. This switching power supply powers the entire device. It's connected here. Our power input is here. It is a 3-in-1 socket. There is a fuse inside. It's similar to our other machines. Then the waste ink pump operates, draining the ink from the ink pad.